Welcome, everyone. Good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. I'm BJ Harris, Executive Director of the Kansas Shrine Bowl. Over the next hour or so, we are going to introduce you to the 36 East players and the 36 West players that will represent their schools in the 48th Annual Kansas Shrine Bowl, set to take place Saturday, June 26th in Hutchinson at Gowan Stadium. Partnerships with Visit Hutch and Hutchinson Community College, as well as the city of Hutchinson, and appreciate their support already so far. It's going to be a great setting for these players to get to participate in, and I know a lot of people anxiously awaiting to hear their names today, and hopefully they do. As we roll on through, we'll also talk with the head coaches from both the East and the West, and we'll talk with one of our sponsors, Sign Brothers, and Stacy Butcher going to be representing them as we are at Sign Brothers in downtown Pittsburgh. Both myself and my partner Chet Coupland here, socially distanced, different part of the store, but a chance to showcase some of their products, and they have been a tremendous partner here for the last year now. If you'll remember, we had last year's selection show as this venue was under renovation, so excited to hear from Stacy about what they've done in the last 365 days or so. But first, let's bring in Chet Coupland from Sports in Kansas. And Chet will first talk about the process, what it takes to become selected, to get selected for the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and then really what it means for all these players. The media, huge involvement in it. The media votes, and then media selection committee kind of breaks those out based on need. But boy, it's a lot of work that goes into it, but I feel like we've got two really good rosters here.
Yeah, two really good rosters, and a very tough process to go through all this to narrow it down to the top players in the state, and a tricky process at that. And of course, a lot of players nominated, so congratulations to all the players nominated across the state of Kansas. But not everybody can be selected in this game, and you can't have 15 all-state quarterbacks in this game either. You got to make up a roster. It's got to be based upon different classifications because coaches have picks, media has picks, and we have to kind of tally up and count up those ballots. But the main thing is we're playing football. We played football in 2020, and we get to pick players today based on that season. We didn't know if we were going to have a season. And really, I got to give a shout out to you, BJ, because I'm not sure we would have had a high school football season unless we did the Shrine Bowl this summer in Topeka and saw the success that it had. So a big shout out to you and your staff for really getting that going. And I think we need to really realize the main cause of why we're doing this today is to, obviously donate money to the Kansas Shrine Bowl and the Shriners Hospitals for Children. And, I was speaking at a school this year earlier on the Power of Social Media tour, and it really touched me because I was able to make a donation last year on a helmet raffle and got to stand out there with the check and donate it back to the Shriners Hospital. And a kid came up to me at Coldwater South Central High School on a walker and came up to me and it about made me tear up, BJ, because he said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Coupland. I saw you this summer and you were able to give money. That way my hospital visits are free in the summer." And to me, that had a big impact. That's why I'm involved with this. That's why you're involved with it. That's why these players are in this game. And, I knew what it was for, but I'd never been impacted like that until somebody came up to me and said that to me in person in small town Kansas this year that, it's for a great cause and we're doing it for the kids.
Yeah, and if you spend any time around our event and don't come close to tears, you're probably not doing it right. So I had not heard that story. Thanks for dropping that on me right here on the air, so I don't choke up myself. But that's good stuff right there. And yeah, it is tough to be selected. Just so you know, we'll run through the process just briefly. First, it starts with coach nominations. Over 350 kids nominated that had to be narrowed down to 72. So you can see that it's already a really tough process. Those coaches nominate those kids based on their performance on the field, obviously, and character. We talk a lot about wanting Shrine Bowl kids. We want kids with high character, good in the classroom, know how to act and know what they're supposed to do because they are going to be, with us for an entire week, and we need to know that we can trust those kids. And then it's obviously based on position need, what the coaches are going to run. We also have some parameters, representation from the 8-man classification, at least one of those on the roster, and we'll actually have two on the west side of things. And then also, only one school can be, or one kid per school can be represented. And I know that's tough. We had that a couple of times this year where it was, boy, how do you narrow down this school to just one kid because they're so competitive. But that is one of the things that it is tough for kids. The head coach can double up one school, so you will see one school from both sides represented with two players, but that's it. And so that really does hamstring things a little bit, but it allows us to impact more communities, which ultimately goes back to what you were talking about, Chet, and that's making the biggest impact possible on Shriners Hospitals for Children, because that's why we do what we do. But it's also an event and a moment in time for these kids, and they're going to get their names heard in just a little bit. But you put together lists, you talk about guys, and know those guys who played in the Shrine Bowl in 1985 and 1997 and everything else that's in that brain of yours. It's still a big deal for those guys, and it's still a big deal for these kids here today.
It's an elite fraternity to be selected to this. There's been so many great players over the years, whether that's Jordy Nelson, whether that's Mark Simoneau. I mean, you can look back to this game starting in the mid-1970s until now, and even some of the players that have gotten brought in as replacements. There's probably going to be some replacements in this game as well, due to maybe somebody getting injured or something like that, or a Division I school making people hold out. There's so many outstanding players. I mean, right now you look at Kansas State, they're All-American. Wyatt Hubert playing in this game just a few years ago, and it's so awesome to see all shapes and sizes, all the way from 8-man all the way up to 6A. And I know I'm very repetitive about saying this at Sports in Kansas every year. There are players at all levels. I do not care what town you're from, what classification you're from. If you can play, you can play. Both the head coaches know this. Every player in this game figures that out, no matter if you're from 8-man America or Class 6A, the biggest school in Kansas. So putting it all together, and these kids, the experience of a lifetime and really what they're playing for, and the friendships. I talk to guys like you that played in this game, or Stacy Butcher. They stay in touch with people for the rest of their life that have played in this game, that they're friends with, business partners with, and, catch up with every single year. There's still alumni that come back to this game every single year. It's an elite special fraternity, and we're getting ready to announce a lot of these players that are going to join that special fraternity.
Yeah, excited about some possible things we're going to try to put together for alumni. Had in the works last year, but couldn't do it because of COVID. But hoping to do that. Hopefully announce a big partnership with Farmers Insurance as well, about our alumni and how we can get back together, all building hopefully towards a really big event in a few years when we have our 50th game. But right now we're focused on the 48th installment of the Kansas Shrine, but it'll be at Hutchinson, Kansas again on Saturday, June 26th. We're going to take our first break. We come back. We're going to meet the first half of the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl East squad when we return here on the Selection Show.
Sign Brothers, a proud Shrine Bowl partner, is more than your average sign company. We go statewide, specializing in all types of messages for sports and schools. Wall graphics for locker rooms, gyms, or school entry areas. Sign Brothers will design and install graphics that get your students and players excited about this school year. We also make banners, field and gym signs, plus all types of custom COVID messages for directions and social distancing. So reach out today for custom designed signs and learn about our special pricing for your school or business.
My daughter was diagnosed with scoliosis.
Connor's right leg was shorter than the left.
Her issues were so rare.
I wanted a doctor who's experienced at treating my child's exact condition.
That's why we went to Shriners Hospitals for Children.
These doctors develop the most advanced procedures.
They do so much research.
With some of the most innovative doctors in the world.
And they put all their best thinking, all their love into healing my child.
And they did it, regardless of our ability to pay.
My daughter is who she is today because of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Welcome back to the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. BJ Harris along with you, alongside me, Chet Copeland, as we get ready to get into the 2021, the 48th East squad. We'll run through half of them and then get to the second half in just a moment. We'll hear from Chet on each player as well. Just fair warning, this is in no particular order. So if you have not heard your name, keep listening. Hopefully you will. And again, we'll reiterate this several times. It's very difficult to be selected to this initial list. If you were nominated for the Kansas Shrine Bowl, stay ready. There's always replacement players. I was a replacement player and was very fortunate to have that opportunity. So while there may be some disappointment today, certainly there is opportunity possibly throughout this summer. So we want to get the best players we can. I know there's more than 36 in the state of Kansas, but that's what we're going to go through here today, these 36 players for the East squad. And we'll get cracking. Chet, if you're ready, we'll head to Pomona, West Franklin High School, representing them in the 2A classification, 6'5", 230, Cameron Wise.
Yeah, definitely a player that jumps off the page on size alone. He played a little bit of running back, was injured a lot as a junior, so not a lot of recruiters knew about him. I know Northwest Missouri really looking at him. I believe that's where he's headed at the next level. Can play a lot of spots. He can play out of the backfield, tight end, can play DN, linebacker as well. So a small school player here out of Class 2A, but not small in stature. Definitely a player that fits the mold to play in this game. Cameron Wise of West Franklin in Pomona.
And we'll have a 3A representative and a school that has sent a lot of kids to the Kansas Shrine Bowl. They'll have a head coach as an assistant this year as well, talking about the Holton Wildcats in Cannon Carn.
Yeah, an absolute stud this year, a two-way player, and then a guy that I got to see against Frontenac this year that really did anything that he wanted to do against Frontenac this year. Holton always so consistent. Linebacker pick here, but also can play running back, and they had a lot of really good talented players. Smash mouth football there under Brooks Barta. Of course, Barta on the coaching staff, and this is a very good player, 6 foot, 205, 210 range, and really could play on either side of the football, but I like him as a linebacker in this game.
Next school will be our 8-man representative and a school that, by everybody's account, was the first time an 8-man player had led started at quarterback for the Kansas Shrine Bowl. Axtell again, and this year it'll be Colby Talbot.
Yeah, he's a player that had over 90 tackles as a nose guard as a junior, was banged up a little bit as a senior, but they've had a really consistent program over the last few years. The Busing kid, the starting quarterback last year. You're getting a really good player here at nose guard that could also double up, probably play a center or guard position. 2-time 8-man Division II All-State selection.
For years in Lawrence, it's been Lawrence Free State that's been the juggernaut, but Steve Rampy has got Lawrence High going, and the Lions a very good year in Class 6A. They'll have a representative in this year's game along with Coach Rampy, and that'll be Cole Mondi.
Yeah, had a game-winning tackle this year as well, and this is a very good player, 2-time 6A All-State pick, 2-time All-Sunflower League pick. Not the biggest guy in the world, but, man, he flows all over that defense. They had a very successful year this year, and a lot of guys you could have went with this. Obviously, you have a number one recruit at Lawrence, and they were loaded across the board on both sides, but this is a very solid football player, 2-time All-6A state pick.
A couple of years ago, a kid from Mar Hill stepped up and became one of those replacement players who did a nice job. Cole Harris got a call a couple weeks before the game and came and played down in Pittsburgh, and Mar Hill back with another representative in Andrew Schwinn.
Yeah, one of the best two-way players in Class 2A this year, over 1,800 yards rushing, a self-made player, 340-pound bench press. And this guy, you know, size-wise, he's not going to jump off the page to college recruiters, but, man, he is a very good player. 4'6", handheld 40 speed on him, and over 120 tackles defensively there. And they had the best regular season they've had in a long time there, losing to eventual state champion Rossville. But this is a very good two-way player. I could see him play on either side of the football in this game.
Next up, a school that you could put together a pretty good all-star team with Mill Valley kids, and a lot of the all-class team, all-state selections in Kansas were made up of a lot of guys from Mill Valley. Their representative, and they'll have another one coming up, I believe, here in a little bit. But Jacob Hartman in the 5A ranks.
Yeah, this is a team that has won 4 state championships since 2015 right here in Pittsburgh, where we're at today. They've been very fortunate to play at Carney Smith Stadium and win championships there under Joel Appleby, and just an outstanding program. This is a player that played a little bit running back this year when their running back was down, but a very good receiver, 6'1", 175. Not the fastest guy in the world, but creates separation and a go-to guy for that Mill Valley Jaguar offense.
Stay in Johnson County and go to Blue Valley Southwest. Their representative will be Tristan Everard.
Yeah, they had obviously Tanner Curry at their quarterback position, and a great combo with him. Didn't play in a lot of games, but upset in round one, upset a Topeka Seaman team there. Not really an upset. If you follow Eastern Kansas League football, you see teams with losing records, and you think, oh, they're probably not that good. Well, people don't follow Eastern Kansas League football. Top to bottom, so good, so many prospects. This is one of them here, over 700 yards receiving as a senior, and no EKL teams this year because they didn't do all conference, but a very good player that was an all Blue Valley pick. They did that conference team this year, but so many talented weapons in that Eastern Kansas League.
When you guys talked with Coach King about what his position needs are going to be and what he wanted to see, he wanted to be big, and he wanted to be big up front, and he referenced the front four for Mill Valley, and one of those guys was Ethan Kremer.
Yeah, the two-time 5A Sports in Kansas Defensive Player of the Year. He is a two-time state wrestling champion, soon to be 3. He has a PWO at Kansas State, and a lot of people sleeping on him because of his size. He may be 6'1". I know it's listed that on the screen, but this may be the best 2A lineman I've covered in the 9 years of sports in Kansas. He is that productive. 3-time EKL, both ways, first team. Not many kids can do that, and of course, a couple of state titles on that. If he's 6'3", he has every offer in the Big 12 right now, but he's not in a major sleeper. But this is a very fine football player, a very strong football player, explosive. And I know Steve Martin and people, Brandon Clark, they both said that's maybe one of the best defensive linemen we've ever seen. And the teams that they've faced over the years at their program. So this is a very fine football player for Mill Valley, their second pick this year in the Kansas Shrine Bowl.
We're going to stay with the big boys and 6'2", 295, and Caleb Murillo from Columbus.
Yeah, Southeast Kansas football this year didn't have a lot of overall team success, but Columbus was one of those teams. They were knocked off by Girard in the first round of the playoffs, and this was a very good football player. Kind of a junior-heavy team there, an all-CNC first-team pick this year, and gets the representation from Class 3A and definitely has the size at 6'2", 295 pounds.
We'll stay in Southeast Kansas, and I've spent a lot of time as the 4 years here leading into the Kansas Shrine Bowl convincing people that I am impartial. Even though I played for the East, I am incredibly impartial. I want the kids to win. I want it to be a good weekend. I want it to be an event. I am decidedly impartial when it comes to this next selection in Girard, the first representative in a long time from Girard, and D. Weidman.
Yeah, Coach Philpott texted me right when the season was going on. He goes, man, this kid's having a great year. Probably one of the best years I've ever had from a defensive lineman while I've been the coach there. And that's really saying something because Girard consistently has a lot of solid players, but it's been hard for them to get a pick. It's hard to get a pick in this game. And he's definitely one of them, a first team all 3A all-state pick this year, all CNC pick as well. Very athletic on both sides of the football. I see him fitting in a defensive line, 6'2", 245, 250 on this one, but nice to see a Girard Trojan get in the game.
Very happy about that as a former Girard Trojan myself. One school that's been dominant here of late in Class 3 has been Perry Lecompton, and their representative is going to be Hayden Robb.
500 career tackles for this young man. That does not happen very often in the career of any high school football player. That's a lot of tackles, and a lot of those came the last 2 seasons. Runner-up finishes in Class 3A. Also a standout offensive lineman as well. The Sports in Kansas 3A Player of the Year defensively. 5'10", 230, outstanding wrestler. The Cause had a lot of players that could have gotten to this game this year and a lot of success under Coach Paramore the last couple of years. But Hayden Robb, the 500-plus career tackle, gets in the game.
One of the newest schools in the state of Kansas, but boy, they've had some pretty good success in the early going on the gridiron. I expect that to continue. We've had their head coach on staff with us as well. That's Olathe West. For the Owls, their representative will be Luke Zuginis.
Yeah, he is a player that obviously comes from a football family. His dad, a former head coach at Blue Valley Northwest back in the day. He's headed to Northwest Missouri at the next level. Very good lineman in the Sunflower League, a little bit undersized overall. This kid can flat out play, 6 foot, 255 pounds, and also an all 6A first team offensive lineman.
Obviously, this next school, no stranger to the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and that's Hayden Catholic. Their representative will be Desmond Purnell.
Outstanding player, one of the best 2A players in Class 3A. The first time I evaluated him was in a playoff game against Frontenac last year, and I was like, man, how does this kid really not being looked at, or nobody's kind of looking into him? Very good 2A player, can play D-back, linebacker, running back, and Kansas State comes calling with a full-ride scholarship offer about a month and a half ago. He's headed there at the next level. This is a very good football player here. You can put him anywhere. I don't know what you do with him because he can do so many things well. You might have to play this guy both ways. A very good player for Coach Arnold there in Topeka.
Yeah, I bet they'll find a place for him for sure. The East squad. We head back to Southeast Kansas, Parsons High School. 3A representative will be Tanner Barkus.
Outstanding season. I think he was 4th in all classes, over 1,000 yards receiving this year. First team unanimous selection by all of the outlets in Class 3A. And of course, a season that he dedicated to his grandpa this year. And Don Barkus, a longtime coach over at Parsons. His dad, the AD there, Don, of course, had passed away this summer, his grandpa. So playing for him all season. Not a lot of team success this year overall, but 1,000 yards in 9 games this year. He was an outstanding player, 2A player, cornerback, and wide receiver coming from Class 3A.
Up to Class 6A, Blue Valley Northwest going to have a player in the game this year, and it's going to be Leo Clennon.
Yeah, they were junior heavy this year, including Mikey Pauley at their quarterback position, Clint Ryder, of course, on the staff for Heston a few years ago, a Southeast Kansas native, the head coach there, and a finalist for 6A Coach of the Year, has really turned around this program. They were a team that, didn't really win a lot of football games, now in the mix, and this is a very good football player, defensive side of the ball, 6'4", 215, has that size, and faces the best competition in Kansas week in and week out.
We'll stay in the big class and go to Blue Valley High School and Clayton Power.
They had some outstanding players there this year, either Power or Smithson. And then, you lost some players as well that transferred out due to not knowing if they were going to get a season. So, a lot of these picks were hard to make this year, BJ, because a limited amount of games for certain players or quarantines and things like this. This is a very good football player, seeing a lot of Division II looks, a load in the middle, 6'2", 303 pounds.
And then we will go to Rossville, and another one of those schools. We mentioned Mill Valley a moment ago. Rossville just loaded, dominant in the Class 2 ranks, and their representative is going to be Bo Reeves.
Yeah, and didn't have to go to him as much as they needed to. He may even be 6'5". He's a 22-foot long jumper as a sophomore. He's also a first-team All-State baseball selection. And on top of that, he's All-State as a wide receiver. He can kick. He can play defensive back. And Rossville won their fourth state title since 2014 this year. They're first at the 2A level. This is a very good football player being recruited in multiple sports. There's a lot of things you can do with him, whether that's receiver, corner, kicker, whatever you want to do with him. He is a big-time weapon out of 2A Rossville, Bo Reeves.
Chet mentioned the limited film on some of these kids. One thing we did do this year in recognition of possible games getting canceled and all that before this even started was we waived our 4-game requirement. So while it's pretty rare that a kid would get selected without playing in 4 games, we did waive that this year. So there will be, I think on the West, one representative perhaps on the East that did not meet that and would never have an opportunity, but a little bit based on their junior year and then the limited time they had this year. So it's something we did to try to recognize the situation and gave some kids some opportunities that maybe wouldn't have had it otherwise. We come to our first break here as we announce these East squad players, our only break between players. We've got the next 18 coming your way when we return right here on the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show.
Sports are full of empowering moments. The game-winning field goal, an athlete overcoming an injury. At Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, we live for those empowering moments. Our team is well equipped to care for all sports-related injuries. Our experts tailor-make treatment plans to fit you. Because when it comes to winning, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Discover the many ways Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine can empower your victories.
Welcome to Freddy's. How's it going, bud?
My parents said we're going plant-based. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. Every once in a while, a kid needs a treat. A dirt and worm sundae, please.
You got it, sir.
If you're gonna be bad, it better be good. Being bad never tasted this good. Freddy's, the experience that puts a smile on your face and the taste that brings you back.
How do you see the world?
Ha!
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into
Everyday miracles!
like riding my bike,
Breaking boards! Ha! Hugging my mom!
Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Welcome back to the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. BJ Harris along with you, Executive Director of the Kansas Shrine Bowl, as we have just outlined the first 18 players that will represent the East in the 48th Annual Kansas Shrine Bowl. Let's get to the others. 18, once again, we're here at Sign Brothers in downtown Pittsburgh. This is a working print shop. They're making T-shirts, making signs all around us, so an active working print shop. So you might hear some stuff in the background, but we're having a lot of fun here and get to talk with their leader, Stacy Butcher, a representative of the East back a few years ago as well. We'll hear from him in just a moment. But first, let's get to those next 18 players that will represent the East. And we start with Centralia and 1A representative, 6'2", 245, Austin Holthouse.
Yeah, a very good player. And in fact, on that state championship team as an all-state pick as a junior and a big senior year as well. And of course, last year an MVP from 1A Centralia. So only about 60 to 70 students in the school, but they've had so many good football players, so many good teams. And this is a two-time all-state pick in Class 1A, can play either side of the football.
The Frontier League, and it's going to be a conference that's going to have quite a few players in it this year. Haven't already announced at least one of those, but a team that I'm pretty familiar with. I get a chance to broadcast their games this year on Friday nights, and this guy was a player for sure for 4A Paola, and that's Carter Stanchfield.
Yeah, a kid that was a first-team All-4A All-State pick this year, and I remember you texted me, BJ, and you said, hey, you have to check out this kid. He jumps off the film, and he does. A very good player, seeing MIAA interest, I think, kind of a sleeper out there, and that's the situation with a lot of kids right now due to minimal scholarships with an extra year of eligibility now due to COVID-19 at the NCAA, JUCO levels, all levels for that matter, but this is a very good football team, and of course, very consistent. Or Coach Dumpert up there, and this is a very good player. And nice to see him get on here as an all-state pick in Class 4A.
Well, the team that knocked them out of the playoffs and eventual 4A state champion at St. James Academy. And this guy went a long way to do it on the defensive side, and probably what he's most known for in the backfield. He was a player, LeJames White.
Yeah, one of the best two-way players in the state of Kansas, and that classification was loaded with players. A kid that played at Kansas City Piper and transferred because he didn't know if he was going to get a season or not. And we saw that a lot, across all of Kansas high school football this year, of teams not knowing if they were going to play or not, players moving out of state, things like that. And Sports in Kansas 4A Offensive Player of the Year headed to the Air Force Academy, and they've really identified talent in the state of Kansas. In fact, they're starting running back from Newton High School right now at the Air Force Academy. LeJames White blocking the extra point to beat Bishop Miege, and Coach Radke's done such a nice job. I mean, it's been Bishop Miege 6 years in a row, and all of a sudden St. James Academy knocks them off in overtime with the block extra point. LeJames White also scores the touchdown in that as well. Not the biggest guy in the world, but also a state powerlifting champion and all-state wrestler. And man, this is just a very, very good football player, and they got to be happy to see him on this list.
Well, I have no input on any of these selections. I have to tell people that multiple times during the year, but I still get hit up from time to time, and I'm excited as ever to tell this coach, hey, we got one for you. Coach Feedback doesn't ask a lot of me, but he did say, hey, I'd like to get him on there. Again, I had nothing to do with it, but excited to announce for Spring Hill and Denver Gardner.
Yeah, very fine player, all-league Frontier this year on the offensive line, 6'2", 275 pounds. Anytime you get a player out of that Frontier League, it's so good, no matter where it's at, Lewisburg, Paola, Spring Hill. Very fine league, very fine football player. They've been back and forth, the 5A, 4A program, 5A this year, but adds some size and some depth up on that offensive line.
We'll go to Sabetha, and there's no shortage of good players up there. We've had several in a row, and always tremendous support from that community as well. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I promise by the time June 26th comes around, we'll know how to pronounce everybody's name, but I'm going to take a run at this one. 6'5", 210, representative out of Sabetha, and Drew Schmesley.
And I know his dad, and I know him, and I still butcher his name when I talk to him all the time. And a very good multiple sport athlete, headed to North Dakota at the next level, and even had a couple of FBS offers this year down at Tulane, and of course Akron offered as well. They like his length, 6'5", 210 at linebacker, can also play D-end, a very good tight end as well, can split out at receiver, and also played a little bit of running back there for Garrett Michael, who's been a coach in this game, and Sabetha's had it rolling over the last 4 or 5 years with consistent football teams up there, and this is a very good athlete that you can do a lot with in a lot of multiple spots here. First team all-state pick in 3A at linebacker, 6'5", 210.
Almost the opposite side of the state, from the Nebraska border to the Oklahoma border. We head to Coffeyville and Field Kinley High School, and one of the fastest dudes in this game for sure, 4A representative Daryl Jones.
Yeah, I remember when Coach Wade this summer texted me and showed a kid running on the track 4.3s, and I'm like, yeah, right. And I start looking, I'm like, wow, this looks legit. We need to get him out to Salina, and we need to get him to run a 40 in a combine, and he does. And he's the fastest guy in there by far, runs a 4.3 handheld 40 when everybody else is in that 4.5 range. He's headed to Kansas State at the next level. A little bit raw, but this is also a kid that can bench press 225 pounds 12 times. So he's got some strength to him as well for 6 foot, 175 pounds. Nice to see him in the game. Can play wide receiver as well. I like him as a defensive back at the next level, and really will take some player development at the next level. And I think he can be a fine football player for the Kansas State Wildcats.
Pretty much straight north up to Linden we head. 1A representative and a big fella again for Coach King up front he wanted, and Miles Kitzelman.
Linden was a very good football team this year, battled with Olpe a couple of times, of course, made it up to that semifinal. And this is a kid going to Emporia State at the next level. And you see that 6'5", 260. He has that size already. Under the radar, had a lot of votes for 1A Sports in Kansas Player of the Year this year. Had several solid players on both sides of that Linden football team for a fine season. Their losses obviously came to the Olpe Eagles, who went unbeaten this year and won Class 1A. Linden, very good team this year. Miles Kitzelman, very good player.
You mentioned the uncertainty leading into the season for Piper. Boy, how good would they have been? You mentioned LeJames White. This is another one who really helped a extremely deep Tonganoxie team, and he is a player. I saw him play in person a couple of times. 6'1", 200, Brandon Martin.
Yeah, played at Kansas City Piper, 500 career tackles. We've already talked about one player that had that. Brandon Martin did as well, all-state wrestler, and this kid's just in on every single play. I always wondered about his tackles, but then I watched Tonganoxie Sports Live this year, and he was literally in on every single tackle this year. All-state pick, 3 years in a row, led the state of Kansas in tackles, 11-man the last 3 years. Not the biggest guy in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but a very fine football player. And Tonganoxie had a great season there. And of course, the uncertainty, he would have been at Piper with LeJames, who, was at St. James Academy. So just imagine what Piper would have been like if they would have had those two guys. But at one point, they weren't even having a season. But very good football player out of Tonganoxie, getting the pick from their school due to at need at this spot. You could have went either way. Obviously, Tyler Bowden, one of the best players in all classes of Kansas, but only one per school. So very difficult for that. But either player very deserving.
We had to coach Randy Dreiling's squad at St. Thomas Aquinas, and a really good offensive lineman. I can only imagine how fun it would be to play O-line for Coach Dreiling, and Danny Carroll got a chance to do it. He'll get a chance to do it for the East.
He was the player of the year, the team MVP for Aquinas football. And Randy Dreiling got up on the podium and said, I've never had a team MVP be an offensive lineman, whether that's been Hutchison, whether that's been Division I players that I've had. And if you remember a couple of years ago, they had 2 D1 cats on that team and one of the best offensive lines in the history of Kansas high school football in that 2018 team that dominated the 5A title. Well, this kid was that type of a player. And if he was a couple inches taller, he'd probably be major Division I. He's going to North Dakota. His dad was a starter at Louisville back in the day. 6'2", 260, over 100 pancakes this year as a senior. He was a finalist for the 5A Player of the Year this year as an offensive lineman. He was that dominating for them up front. So very good pickup here out of STA.
For the second straight year, the Bobcats of Basehor Linwood going to have a quarterback coming to the game, and this time it will be Isaac Stanton.
Yeah, very impressive. I mean, over 2,600 yards in a first year as a starter. Coach Stahlbaumer really has it going with the quarterback there, and guy could throw it all over the place. Had some very good receivers, and Jordan Brown, the multiple sport athlete, the Huber kid as well. And this is a very good quarterback that can do a little bit of anything, and obviously has a nice arm. Kind of unknown, as I mentioned, coming into the year, and last year having a Shrine Bowl pickup, and nice to see them get another pickup here in Class 4A.
Stay in the metro and go to the western half of that side of Kansas City, and Gardner Edgerton, Ethan Reynolds.
Yeah, they've switched leagues so many times over the years, kind of forget what they're in, but they're, of course, in the Sunflower League, and so many good football players on the team, including a couple of Kansas State signees this year. Coach Cornelson does a fine job with this team, and, of course, they beat Mill Valley during the regular season. I know Mill Valley had their backup at quarterback, but this guy, first team, all-league Sunflower in a loaded league this year. Not the biggest guy in the world, but can do a little bit of everything as an athletic defensive back, 5'9", 155, and has a little bit of speed to him.
Stay in the 6A ranks and go to Olathe East. They'll have Morrell Fountain.
Yeah, I really thought he was one of the top 3-4 running backs in Class 6A this year. I mean, you look at, of course, Devin Neal, he's going to jump off the page, the Edwards kid of Derby as well. And then you throw in this kid, Olathe East. They had a nice football season. Under the radar player, 5'9", 190, a little bit thick as well. So nice to see him get on the list, because I thought he was absolutely one of the best players in Class 6A.
Yeah, you mentioned already the big upset, probably one of the biggest ones in the state of Kansas this year, and knocking Bishop Miege out on the east side, but they're still very, very good, and their representative this year, 6'3", 200, be Mac Moeller.
Yeah, he stepped up huge this year in limited amount of games because they didn't play, obviously, all of their games due to the delayed season. And first team All-State in Class 4A, and is really the only returning. You lost Daniel Jackson to D1 last year, and then Felipe Wesley, who has Arizona State offer, transferred out to an academy, I believe, in California. So this was your guy this year, and he stepped up big. Timothy Dorsey and him, it's connection there, and obviously a fine season, not all league or anything because they didn't have an all league team, but first team All-State in Class 4A this year. Nice size. He's a hybrid. He's a wide receiver first, but he can obviously block a little bit as well. A good blocking receiver, but play a little bit of tight end too with that 200-pound size.
6 spots remaining here on the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl East squad. We head Northeast Kansas, Lansing, and Malik Benson.
I think this guy's a Division I guy, 800 yards this year all the way. And they had a fine football team. You know, the Caden Crawford kid going to Division I, a junior, and another linebacker that was all conference in the United Kansas. There were some good players in the United Kansas Conference. This is a speedster we knew a little bit about as a sophomore, not having track last year. A lot of people don't know about certain speedsters because we didn't have a track season due to COVID last year. This is one of the guys you would know about. In my opinion, should have Division I offers, probably has to go to the JUCO route, and I think we'll be hearing about him in a couple of years, but a fine football player out of Lansing High School.
Head to Nemaha Central. Coach Warren Sides, a couple of years ago, was the head coach of the East. He played back in the 80s as well for the East squad, and he'll put another player on the team. This time it'll be Tyler Garrity.
You know you're getting a solid player there at Nemaha Central, tough there in Seneca, Kansas, of course, formerly Nemaha Valley and then Baileyville B&B, now called Nemaha Central since 2014. First ever state title last year when this kid was a junior. He's 2A All-State pick, so he's been an All-State as a receiver, over 900 yards this year, and also as a defensive back as a junior. He's also a signee of the Kansas University baseball program as well. So major Division I baseball player. The kid can do a little bit of everything. I probably see him as a wide receiver in this, but he could double as a defensive back. Nice to see these multiple sport athletes playing them all.
State champion in this game. He will be playing and representing 1A from Olpe, along with his head coach, Chris Schmidt, going to be joining us as well as an assistant. That's Jordan Barnard.
Yeah, this team was really, their stars were juniors this year, so not a lot of the seniors got a lot of credit because we're talking about Skowski and Rediker and guys like that, but this is a fine football player, tight end, 200 pounds, and I think there's only 2 or 3 guys on the entire team over 200 pounds. You look at them, they don't pass the eye test like they're a state championship team, but then you go watch them play and how hard they play schematically and how good of a job that Coach Schmidt does and Coach Smith does defensively. Outstanding football being played at Olpe year in and year out. The second state title since 2014 there, second all-time in school history as far as football goes. Chris Schmidt has him rolling. He'll be in this game, and his senior rep right here, 6'1", 200 tight end.
Obviously, Coach King from DeSoto High School. He'll be leading the East. He'll have his quarterback with him as well, 5A representative, 6 foot 185 in Jackson Miller.
Yeah, we had him at 4.38 handheld, so probably about a 4.5 on a laser time if he's running it. One of the absolute fastest players in the state, and he's at quarterback. And not only that, you think, oh, well, he's a 4.5 kid. He probably can't throw. Wrong. This kid has a big-time arm. I've seen it in person. He's a very good player and a very good pick here. If he was a few inches taller, probably a lot of offers. His dad, a former coach at Gardner Edgerton back in the day, comes from a football family. Very good football player. Class 5A DeSoto, hung around with Mill Valley in those playoffs, but not earlier on in the season. So we'll see what happens in this one. Running Steve Rampy's offense up here, who's, of course, the 6A representative. Very good player. I could see being the starting quarterback of this Shrine Bowl squad.
We go up a classification up to 6A, and this guy would be one of the first guys off the bus if I was deciding who gets off there. 6'4", 225, looks the part, plays the part as well. Shawnee Mission South will have Max Close.
Yeah, that's the thing. Not all these teams had a lot of team success, but you start watching film and you start going through players and players on all teams. And this kid certainly has that size. You look at him, 6'4", 225. And, you know, recently they've had another big player that won Division I that had size as well. But very good football player, tight end, DN type, and a lot that you can do with him on this team. Very under the radar due to not having a ton of team success. But like I said, still a lot of good football going on in Kansas City, regardless of record. You got to realize who you're playing week in and week out to get those records.
We wrap things up here. Our final selection here for the East squad from Osage City. They had a representative a couple of years ago, another one here, and it will be Dane Whalen.
Don't let 2A fool you. Don't let 5'10" fool you. State wrestling champion. This kid bench presses nearly 400 pounds. Not the tallest guy in the world, maybe not even really 5'10". He probably doesn't want me saying that, but this kid is a stud. Can play on either side of the football. Had Player of the Year votes defensively. Just one of those guys that's a really good high school football. High school football player. Don't know his opportunities at the next level, but one of those guys you can plug in there either side, whether it's a center guard, defensive tackle type, and I can guarantee you he will be one of the absolute strongest kids in this game, regardless of position.
All right, there you have it. The 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl East squad. They'll be headed by Brian King from DeSoto. We'll talk with Coach King in just a little bit. Once again, Congratulations to those 36 players. We were limiting or narrowing it down. I mentioned over 350 nominations to get to those 36 for the East and 36 for the West. And so if you did not hear your name today, I know that's a little bit of salt in the wounds perhaps, but stay alive, stay ready to go, and stay healthy, because you may get that call at any time this summer. Again, I got the call 2 weeks before the game, and luckily, it was a long time ago. I was in shape, I promise. But you ought to be ready and hopefully have a chance to play and make the most of your opportunity. Lots of guys have done it that way, and I hope it's okay if you're ready to go. But congratulations to those 36 players. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to the head coach of the East, Brian King, when we return on the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show.
Sign Brothers, a proud Shrine Bowl partner, is more than your average sign company. We go statewide, specializing in all types of messages for sports and schools. Wall graphics for locker rooms, gyms, or school entry areas. Sign Brothers will design and install graphics that get your students and players excited about this school year. We also make banners, field and gym signs, plus all types of custom COVID messages for directions and social distancing. So reach out today for custom designed signs and learn about our special pricing for your school or business.
So, what is love? Love is being independent. Love is dancing. At Shriners Hospital for Children, love is a new smile.
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, love is caring for a child regardless of the family's ability to pay. Learn how you can send your love to the rescue at lovetotherescue.org.
Welcome back to the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. BJ Harris along with you as we continue with today's show. We just had a chance to meet the 36 players that will represent the East in the 48th Kansas Shrine Bowl. Now let's talk to the man who will head the East squad for 2021, Brian King, a 2000 East Shrine Bowl member as well. So one of those rare player and head coaches. He'll have another one of those on staff with him. Perhaps we'll talk about that as well in a moment. But Coach King, first of all, congratulations once again for being the head coach. And you got a chance, those 36 players. I'm sure you know more about them than we do even at this point now. Talk about that squad in general and how excited you are to lead the East.
Very talented group of kids. Excited to look through all their film and kind of go through all those players. And amazing how much talent is there, how much depth is there, and getting that roster down to 36, it's tough. And there's a lot of special players there from 1A to 6A, and extremely impressed with this group and excited to work with them.
How thankful were you, Coach, this year to not only get a 2020 Kansas Shrine Bowl this summer and getting to be a part of that staff, but also getting a season at DeSoto, a successful season, and not only that, now having the opportunity to coach all of these kids as the head coach. You played in the game, but how thankful do we got to be that we even got football this year?
It was amazing, and I always go back to the Shrine Bowl last year in Topeka, and BJ did a good job in the Shrine Bowl getting that game going because a lot of people said it wasn't going to happen. He kept persevering and kept finding places for us to stay and to play, and it was awesome. I think it gave a lot of people a lot of confidence that this can be done and this game can happen and this season can happen. And we were extremely excited to get this season in, and every week nothing was guaranteed, and our kids didn't take anything for granted. Our players had a new sense of just appreciation. They didn't, every day they showed up to practice with a good attitude and ready to work, and we're excited to get this season in.
Talk about your coaching staff. I mentioned a moment ago that, you get a chance to coach with Brooks Barta, who was the head coach when you played in 2000, and my head coach as well when I played for the East in 2000. And then you guys have already had to work a little bit to put together the roster. If people don't know, the coaches get those selections. So you guys have met, talked about scheme, talked about your, approach to this game. So talk about those guys and how important they're going to be to have some success.
Amazing group of coaches, and many of them I knew through coaching profession, and have a great deal of respect for all of them and what they've done for respective programs. But the experience that these guys have, we've got state championship coaches, We've got guys who've been head coaches in the Shrine Bowl. We have guys that have been collegiate coordinators and have won national titles. I mean, we've got a great group of guys, and they all understand what this game stands for. They're excited about being part of it. And yeah, we went through these kids, and interested to get their perspective on these kids as well. And it was nice meeting with them on a little kind of over the internet and putting together the best group we can, and feel great about the group we got.
Well, you were a small school player yourself playing in this game, and you definitely know there's talent at all levels, no matter if that is 8-man 2, 8-man 1, heck, even 6-man in Kansas, all the way up to 6A. Now being a 5A coach, you've been at the 4A level, but how cool is all this to see come together where players at all levels, all shapes and sizes of all towns across the state of Kansas playing for this great cause?
It's awesome. It's a great tradition for Kansas football. I think honestly one of the greatest traditions in Kansas high school football is this game. To get all these greatest players in the state of Kansas together for a great cause. And you're right, there's great players from the 1A level all the way to the 6A level. Kids are kids and football is football. And you don't have to look back too far to see, I think Campbell Haverkamp was our MVP of the East last year, 1A Centralia, Kansas. There's great players at every classification, and definitely some great talented kids in Kansas.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking a few minutes here to talk with us on today's selection show. These guys just found out that they're going to get a chance to play in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. What are a few thoughts or words you'd like to leave with them to make sure they have their mind right come June 26th?
Just understand what an honor it is to play in this game, and how tough it is to get down to the 36 kids on our roster. There's so many talented kids to get down to that 36 is tough. So it's a great honor. You're not just representing you're representing your football program, your school, and your community. And those people take a lot of pride in what you do. So just understand what a great honor it is. And then, like I tell my kids, these games are won and lost in the off season. So get yourself physically ready to go this off season, get to work this spring, and come ready to work in June. So I'm excited.
All right, Coach, we appreciate your time as always, and good luck with the rest of the school year, and obviously good luck in this summer with the 48th East squad.
Thank you, BJ. Look forward to it.
Head coach of the East, Brian King, joining us here on the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. We'll step away, take a quick break. Still more to come as we reveal the 2021 rosters for the Kansas Shrine Bowl.
Welcome to Freddy's. How are you guys doing?
Meetings. Lunch meetings all week. All salads.
Bean salads.
Quinoa salads. Heirloom salads.
Frisee salads.
Sometimes, guy needs a Freddy's Original Double, Chicago Dog, and a Turtle Sundae. Make that 2, please.
3.
Absolutely.
If you're gonna be bad, it better be good. Being bad never tasted this good. Freddy's, the experience that puts a smile on your face and the taste that brings you back.
Sports are full of empowering moments. The game-winning field goal, an athlete overcoming an injury. At Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, we live for those empowering moments. Our team is well equipped to care for all sports-related injuries. Our experts tailor-make treatment plans to fit you. Because when it comes to winning, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Discover the many ways Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine can empower your victories.
My daughter was diagnosed with scoliosis.
Connor's right leg was shorter than the left.
Her issues were so rare.
I wanted a doctor who's experienced at treating my child's exact condition.
That's why we went to Shriners Hospitals for Children.
These doctors develop the most advanced procedures.
They do so much research.
With some of the most innovative doctors in the world.
And they put all their best thinking, all their love into healing my child.
And they did it, regardless of our ability to pay.
My daughter is who she is today because of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Welcome back to the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show, here the 2021 version, as we introduce you to players from across the state of Kansas who will be representing their communities in the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl. We step aside for just a moment as we learn more about this location. We are at Sign Brothers, downtown Pittsburgh, here as our official apparel provider of the Kansas Shrine Bowl, provided the jerseys for last year's game and looking forward to working them once again here in 2021. And one of those guys that makes it all happen here at Sign Brothers, a 1996 alum of the Kansas Shrine Bowl from Topeka Seaman High School, Stacy Butcher. And Butch, we were here a year ago, and this was kind of an empty box. Work was being done, the floors were being finished, and now you guys have a retail store here in downtown Pittsburgh, obviously doing a lot of stuff besides retail. That's where we partner with you. But talk about this location, talk about what the last year has been, and this little excitement that you guys have here at Sign Brothers.
All right, looks like we've gone full circle down here here at 508 North Broadway, our Sign Brothers retail store. Last year, like you said, when you and Chet visited us, it was still under construction. We had the floors done and the paint up, but now we're operating out of here full time. With the printing in the back, the engraving in the back. We're doing a bunch of apparel as well in-house, and so we really, really got it going right now. Right now, one of the big things for us are the vehicle wraps. We just executed a couple big jobs for some companies out of Colorado and some companies here local. And so the car wraps are really taking off. The wall wraps are still taking off. We're doing some work in some of the high schools and some of the colleges. Again, so 1 year passed, and things are really, really picking up for us here at the Sign Shop at Sign Brothers here down in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Yeah, if you're a school that's watching this and want some graphics inside your building on the walls, these guys can get it done. That's what they're trying to do and grow that business in the state of Kansas as well as elsewhere. And good work. One of the favorite things about Sign Brothers, and a lot of it's Stacy and his commitment to what we're trying to accomplish. But I'm not always the easiest to work with. I kind of come in with a vision. Here's what I kind of want to see. I can't outline it very well sometimes. And Butch just says, okay, we'll get it. We'll get it done, BJ. And so I think that's one of the things that's so unique about your shop. It has that boutique feel where you can, do one-off stuff. You can do things that are custom that are just, for a one or two, but you can do huge volumes as well. And you will and have for us as well, for the Kansas Shrine Bowl. So talk about that flexibility that really kind of sets you guys apart.
And that's just it right there, that flexibility right there. We our tagline is we make it personal. And that's exactly what it is. From the phone call to the email to the face-to-face conversation. When you meet me or one of our employees, we really want to build that relationship right there. You're talking to somebody that you're going to be dealing with, be working with now and in the future. So when you do call in and you order something, you're talking to a person and you're just not a number. That's what we do. We understand that all projects are not created equally. So whatever project you come in those doors with us, you come in those doors with to bring us, we're here for it. We're here to find a solution for your project. And even when we're out and about, every sign job is a little bit different. Every building's a little bit different. We're willing to go that extra mile to do what we need to do so you can see your vision right there. Again, Sign Brothers, from the signs to the branding to the clothing to the engraving, the way you want to envision it, that's our job to help you come up with solutions to see it that way. So from myself, Stephen Brittingham, who's been out in the field visiting schools, Casey Beeman here taking over all the art and graphics here, and to myself, just building relationships. That's what we're here for every situation, from the branding to the apparel to printing up yard signs. Right now, yard signs are a huge thing with the schools, with trying to get through this pandemic and parents and loved ones not being able to make the games, grandparents. We've been giving schools solutions on getting those parents there with the stadium seating. You've seen it a lot in baseball when baseball first started up. And so we went ahead and grabbed that and ran with it a little bit, and it's helping some people out too. So helping some schools out.
You mentioned relationships, and that really is what kind of brought us together. You and I date back. We played football together briefly at Pittsburgh State, briefly on my part anyways, and then working with Chet on some stuff, and it just kind of all comes full circle. And then not to mention, by the way, that you played in the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and these guys are getting to find out today that they get to play in the game, and then here we are, 20, 25 years removed from it, working together on the Kansas Shrine Bowl, trying to continue to further our mission. You guys' contribution to our endeavor is tremendous. It allows us to just give more money to the hospital. So here we are 25 years from you playing in the game, and you're still giving back. We appreciate that, and just talk about what it's meant to partner with us and us partnering with you to further the mission.
Oh, again, I'm here for all that. Back in 1996, playing in that Shrine Bowl, I met some incredible people, seen some incredible things, and just I still probably talk to at least 10 people off that team. A couple of them came to Pittsburgh State with me. A couple of them didn't, but a couple of them are same age as me right now, and we run into each other at ball games. Their kid playing my kid, and we sit back and talk about the things that we did at the Shrine Bowl, the people we met at the Shrine Bowl. Now that I'm of age and trying to get back to my own community, this is something that contributing and working with you and your group, working with Chet and his group, working with Mammoth Sports when we actually get to the games and things like that, and the events that are happening around the event. It's important to me, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm here to do whatever we need to do to widen the participation. You know, we need to get those alumni back. So a lot of guys out there that just need a phone call or just need to be nudged back that way to remember what this experience was for them then, and to bring them all back. You know, there's a lot of successful guys out there that played in this game that will do anything to put a kid in the right position, you know, to live a better life. So that's where we are. So I'm here for it and looking to be a part of this thing for the next several years.
Well, the partners we have get it and understand what we're trying to accomplish. And Sign Brothers, boy, fell right into that. And we appreciate your partnership, Stacy, and look forward to working with you for many years to come and making these guys look good. I'm a big proponent of the adage, look good, play good. And, you know, then if you don't play good, you still look good at the end of the day. And you guys are going to help us do that. We appreciate your time and appreciate your partnership and look forward to working with you many years to come.
All right. Thanks for having us, BJ.
Stacy Butcher from Sign Brothers joining us here on the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. We continue right after this.
Sign Brothers, a proud Shrine Bowl partner, is more than your average sign company. We go statewide, specializing in all types of messages for sports and schools. Wall graphics for locker rooms, gyms, or school entry areas. Sign Brothers will design and install graphics that get your students and players excited about this school year. They also make banners, field and gym signs, plus all types of custom COVID messages for directions and social distancing. So reach out today for custom designed signs and learn about our special pricing for your school or business.
How do you see the world?
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into
Everyday miracles.
Like riding my bike.
Breaking boards. Hugging my mom.
Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Welcome back to the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. BJ Harris along with you, alongside me, Chet Copeland, as we turn our attention to the west half of the state as we meet the guys who will dress in green, led by the head coach of the West, Lucas Melvin. We'll hear from him in just a little bit as well. But first, we'll introduce you to the 36 players that will represent the West. We'll have the first half, 18 players to represent the West in the first half of this, and then the backside will have the other 18 players for the 2021 West squad that will practice at Kansas Wesleyan and will play on Saturday, June 26th at Gowan Stadium in Hutchinson. Let's get to it, Chet, and we'll head to Mays and 5A representative Josh Sanders.
Yeah, Mays has had a lot of good football players here recently. Caleb Grill, of course, now at UNLV for basketball, was the MVP in this game just a couple of years ago. And this is a transfer from Wichita Heights this year. Josh Sanders, of course, a finalist for the Sports in Kansas 5A Player of the Year, over 1,600 yards plus rushing this year. They also had a sophomore quarterback this year that was just recently offered by TCU a couple of weeks ago as well. So really have it going on there in Mays and able to beat a Derby squad this year in the regular season. Very fine football player. 5'7", 180 pounds, and maybe doesn't pass the eye test on size, but turn on those highlights. He has one of the best huddle tapes that I've seen in the state of Kansas this year.
We head out west, and one of the great stories in the state of Kansas this year in Class 1A, especially 5'10", 180 out of Oakley, Ethan Abel.
Probably the fastest guy on this team. I've seen him in person multiple times, and he legit runs a 4.45 40 handheld. And of course, a player at the 1A level out in Western Kansas and Oakley off I-70 that not a lot of people know about. 3-6 a year ago to the first ever state championship appearance this year under Jeff Hennick. They have it rolling there. The senior class really stepped up big. Runner up to Olpe this year, the 1A Sports in Kansas Player of the Year. And this is a guy that also can double as a receiver. but has a lot of speed, can be a special teams player, could also play a little bit of defense as well. But congrats to him on the 1A Player of the Year. And one of the biggest stories of the year, that in Ark City, of teams coming out of nowhere to get to a state championship. So it's nice to see Oakley in new territory out there in Western Kansas. They play in that very good MCL league.
Yeah, both those schools will be representative by their coaches as well. Coach Hennick, you mentioned, and John Weimers for Ark City. We'll imagine talk about him a little bit later on as well. Andover Central going to have another representative. It'll be Jacob Reese.
They've had a lot of success, on this team. Coach Tuttle, second-year head coach there, longtime assistant. Not the biggest guy in the world, but just did a player evaluation on him not too long ago, and I really liked his tape as a strong safety, outside linebacker type, a player that also played some running back for him this year as well. And they've had representation in this game over the years, and of course, they've played for state titles here in recent memory, a couple, I believe, in the last 6 years. So 5'10", 182, a nice pickup as an all-AVCTL pick, and an honorable mention for a linebacker out of Andover Central.
Another one of those schools that how do you pick just one kid from each school? And this is a good example, one of the perennial powers in Class 5A, and a little hint to later on, they will have two representatives in this game, 5A and Julius Bolden.
3 years in a row, they are the state runner-up in 5A, and this is the school that produced the best player in the Big 12 in Brees Hall. So Bolden, of course, his stats probably weren't where some of the other people were at. Well, that's because they weren't even sure if they were even going to get a football season. Shout out to Steve Martin for fighting for those guys in the city of Wichita this year. This kid headed to Northern Illinois at the next level, at the FBS level. His teammate also headed there as well. I believe they had 4 or 5 Division I FBS signees this year out of Wichita Northwest, and that seems like they're doing that every single year there under Coach Martin. And explosive running back as well. I believe his sister was a multiple-time hurdle champion in high school as well. 5'11", 195 pounds, and going to play running back in this game. I imagine you could play this guy in a lot of spots due to his athletic ability and speed.
Well, I hope we get to have a full stadium on on June 26th, because I bet you this school will be represented pretty strongly there in nearby Haven, and they're representative out of 2A and Darby Roper.
Outstanding turnaround. I believe they won their first playoff game since the mid-1970s this year. They have a dual head coach. They're 2 head coaches, and did a great job. Those 2 guys, Coop Ryder and Tallman, were finalists for the Sports in Kansas Coach of the Year. Well, this is my 2A Defensive Player of the Year. He was also a finalist for Offensive Player of the Year, and if he could have beat out the Horak kid, maybe he gets it on both sides. Outstanding player with a lot of speed. His dad, of course, a coach there in Haven as well. Turn on this kid's tape. This kid can play. He's picking up some JUCO offers and things like that. 10 interceptions defensively this year for him. And not only that, as a dual threat offensively, you could play him at quarterback, receiver, running back in this game. But, man, he's a lockdown defensive back and a nice pickup from Class 2A, Darby Roper out of Haven.
Mentioned Ark City, and one of the great stories is they knock off McPherson in the semifinals, get to play for a state championship. John Weimers played in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. His brother played in the Shrine Bowl. His dad coached in the Shrine Bowl. So a long history from Ark City, and Coach John Weimers coming in here. And one of the big reasons they were able to get to that state championship was Maximus Shannon.
Well, I was quoted a lot this year saying it's the most wide open year of 4A football I've ever seen. And sure enough, we had a team that went 6-7 that knocked off some teams they probably shouldn't have knocked off. And really one of the stories across the state this year, they even lost one of their best players earlier on in the regular season. This kid stepped up big and, of course, has some size at 285 pounds. And what a magical season for them to finish this year, of course, 2-6 during the regular season and play for a state championship. And I think everybody had McPherson penciled in getting to their first ever title game. No, it was Ark City. But not only that, they've been a team that's made some deep playoff runs over the last couple of years. His second stint as the coach there, and Coach Weimer is going to get an opportunity, of course, to coach in a Shrine Bowl as well, play in a Shrine Bowl. And, of course, he's coached at the FCS level as well. So he knows talent, and he has some talent on this team. And nice to see this pickup here, first team All-State pick in Class 4A.
We head to Phillipsburg, and a familiar name from Phillipsburg just a couple of years ago. Trey Sides represented the Phillipsburg squad, and this year it'll be Ty Sides.
Yeah, multiple sport athlete, very good. The younger sister, Taryn Sides, is going to be a Division I basketball player, one of the top sophomores regionally in the country. And this kid's a fine football player, may not have quite the height of his older brother, who starts at Jacksonville, Division I in basketball, but this is a very good player as a dual threat. Can also be a defensive back in this game, plays in one of the best 2A and down leagues in Kansas in the MCL. So you're getting a very good athlete here in Ty Sides.
It's almost becoming a tradition that a quarterback from Derby represents his school on the West, and we'll do it again this year, and it'll be Lim Wash.
Yeah, going to Tennessee Tech at the next level, has some speed and has some arm strength to him as well. 7 touchdowns in the state championship against Blue Valley North this year. His postseason the last 2 years is just incredible. I mean, he had maybe an average regular season because they took some ups and downs and maybe lost some games that you wouldn't expect him to lose, and got dominated by Mill Valley early on and lost a game to Mays. I can tell you the Derby team at the end of the year, I don't think anybody would have wanted to play them because they were clicking on all cylinders and just know how to play in November. Coach Clark does a fantastic job there. One of the best players, best athletes that has been there in recent time, 5'11", 210, multiple FCS offers, quarterback in this game, but heck, put him anywhere. This guy can just make things happen.
And Riley County will be our next school representative. The alma mater, probably one of our most famous alumni, and Jordy Nelson, but the Riley County player this time around in 2021 will be Nick Allen.
Yeah, 4.55 handheld speed, a strong kid as well, and maybe more known as a defensive back as a sophomore and hurt all of his junior year. So it's awesome to see him have a 1,400-yard plus senior season, plays in the Mid-East League. So, of course, you're playing some top-notch teams in Rossville, Silver Lake, and all of that. And Riley County's had a lot of success here recently, whether that's been 3A or 2A, whether that's been East or West by Keisha Brackets. But Nick Allen, a very fine football player and a great representation of Riley County to get in this game.
Head back to 1A and the big matchup between them and Oakley. Obviously, they'll get a chance to play with one another. Carter Brown from Inman.
Yeah, they were in the semifinals for the first time since like the early 1990s. And this kid, a baseball player first, but the 1A co-defensive player of the year from Sports in Kansas this year. He was the MVP of their district, their loaded district this year. Inman and Oakley had a battle there later on in the season, and this is a very good football player. And they've done a great job there under Coach Sawyer at Inman. And you know, all-state pick this year in Class 1A. A lot of good players in Class 1A. Only 28 teams, but still some very fine football players.
Troy Black going to join us on staff as well as the 3A representative on the West out of Wichita Collegiate. His second stint on the coaching staff. And his player will be Nick Herman.
Yeah, they have a young team there with some guys that are sophomores, juniors that are going to be some stars, but this was a very good senior football player for them. All league, all state, 6 foot, 245, tough, physical, inside, a perfect pickup here. And of course, joins his head coach here who will be a member as an assistant on this staff. Wichita Collegiate's had some fine football players over the years and of course plays in a very good league out there with Andale and Clearwater and all those teams there. So nice to see this representation.
We head back to Wichita Northwest, their second representative on the West squad. They'll be the school that'll have 2 players picked today. And on that West squad and that Wichita Northwest team is Wetu Colomo.
Yeah, he's also headed to Northern Illinois with his teammate who also makes this in Bolden. You could have had 5 or 6 guys on that Wichita Northwest team that could have made the Shrine Bowl, but it's not 1996 and we don't do that anymore. Otherwise, you might see that many players on there, but very fine pickup here. I mentioned Northern Illinois. He did not have the stats this year that he normally would have had. That's because they saw his stats from last year, and there's no way anybody's going to throw towards this guy because he was that locked down, and they had Todrick McGee back there as well. It was another lockdown guy, linebackers, defensive linemen, the offense that they had. This was an incredible player that's headed to the FBS level, multiple-time 5A All-State pick, 3 years in a row. They've played for a state title, as I mentioned there, for Steve Martin.
Well, when we get the media selections from across the state of Kansas, you'll see the guys that the media certainly likes, and this is one of them, and it is justly deserved. 6'1", 230 out of Hayes High School, and Gavin Hazelhorst.
I think he was the second best football player in maybe all classes of Kansas this year, outside of Ethan Kramer out of Mill Valley. A lot of pick, they were in the same class. Otherwise, Hazelhorst is a player of the year. In any other class, he's a player of the year. Headed to Kansas State. Maybe 6'1", so athletic. You see him doing backflips and stuff and full shoulder pads. This is a guy that played soccer like in 8th or 9th grade and figured out that he's pretty good at football. There's 3 guys on the Hayes team right now, 2 that are going to be seniors, and this guy right here that have FBS football offers with Gavin Myers and, of course, Jaron Kanik. But this player right here, unbelievable, over 40 tackles for loss as a senior. He's going to stand out here, and if he played at a smaller high school, he'd probably be a 2-way player. But Kansas State comes in, gets a guy like this, and he's really going to stand out in this game. He's always in the backfield, so fast, so explosive, 4.58 speed at 6'1", 230 pounds.
Back to Mays we go, this time Mays South, and out of 5A, 6'1", 190, Jake Johnson.
Yeah, great year. Over 900 yards receiving this year for the Mavericks. They're a team that's always kind of known for their defense under Coach Pfeiffer, but this was an explosive receiver here with the combination of him and Colin Shields offensively this year. Very good receiver. When you start to break down those 5 or 6 receivers in Class 5A, 6A across the state of Kansas, he's one of those guys that jumps out to me. Done a player evaluation, him, 6'1", 190, creates separation. Good pickup here from Mays South.
Head west quite a ways, and a 4A representative out of Ulysses will be Coy Kinney.
Yeah, under the radar player. You know, he plays out in Ulysses, Kansas. You know, they've been known for taking the 8-hour bus rides to play somebody in Southeast Kansas because they're in 4A, but they're in a 3A league. So when you're locked into a league schedule, you have nobody to play. And this is going to mean a lot to Coy. His dad, Jason Kinney, the late Jason Kinney, who passed away a couple of years ago. Very good football player, tackle machine, has the size, got an opportunity to meet him at some camps and combines, and nice to see him get here because he is absolutely one of the top defenders out in Western Kansas. It's just that some years that maybe some of these Ulysses players go a little bit under the radar due to not having all those league games in, playing out of state a little bit and playing teams that a lot of people aren't familiar with.
Junction City, no stranger to the Kansas Shrine Bowl. A big part of that. Randall Zimmerman, head coach there, will be on staff for a record 8th time of the Kansas Shrine Bowl. He loves it, and we love to have him every time. It'll be a nice addition, and so will his player at 6'1", 200, and Andrew Corey.
Great arm strength, very accurate. A finalist for 6A Player of the Year, over 2,900 yards passing this year. Semifinal appearance for the first time since 2008, since Ty Zimmerman played for Randall Zimmerman, who went on to Kansas State, of course, and started free safety. It's been that long since they've had that deep of a run. Lost to obviously a very good Derby team, but Andrew Corey, a big reason for that. Nobody really knew about Andrew coming into his junior year, what type of player he would be. And all of a sudden, you know, he's a 2-time 6A All-State caliber of quarterback, added about 25 pounds from last year. So definitely a guy I could see being in the mix to be the starting quarterback here. And you have a couple of them already. This is a very fine football team that we're putting together so far here on the West with some of the state's top players.
Happy for Hoisington to get another crack at having a player in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. They had one last year, but was a casualty to COVID as camp started because of some contact he may have possibly had when he was at camp for his college. So tough break for them. They didn't get him onto the field, but certainly was an alumni of the Kansas Shrine Bowl a year ago. But now Hoisington going to have another one, and that's Holt Hanslick.
Yeah, I think everybody was waiting to see Wyatt Pedigo play from last year, you know, one of the best players in all classes, and, you know, has to quarantine because of a case up in North Dakota, and they have to take him off the roster at the last minute last year and get Holt Hanslick in this year. And, of course, how do you replace, you know, all these stars off of last year? Well, you do it with a lot of very good seniors, a lot of guys that had experience. Total team football this year, they did not really have a star. Maybe you could call Hanslick that star of the team. His brother was an outstanding player a few years ago for that team, but Coach Baird had it going. State runner-up and battled Rossville all the way down to the wire in that one. So nice to see them get a pickup here. 6 foot, 205, can play running back or linebacker in this game, and Hoisington proved they were the real deal this year in Class 2A.
Back to the east just a little bit, we head to Andover, and their representative this year will be Isaiah McCory.
Yeah, over, I believe, 4 or 5 interceptions this year defensively for them, and a nice player. They had several players on this Andover team that really could have been picked in this game. A lot of good players in this league, but very good pickup at the defensive back spot. Great size and length at 6'1", 180 pounds.
We're at the halfway point of the west side. 18 more players yet to find out if they are a part of the 48th annual Kansas Shrine Bowl representing the green and white. We'll take a break. We'll come back and introduce you to those other players when we return here on the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show.
Sports are full of empowering moments. The game-winning field goal, an athlete overcoming an injury. At Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, we live for those empowering moments. Our team is well equipped to care for all sports-related injuries. Our experts tailor-make treatment plans to fit you. Because when it comes to winning, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Discover the many ways Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine can empower your victories.
Welcome to Freddy's. What can we get started for you?
I haven't had a carb in 3 weeks, and if I have one more sip of a kale smoothie, I need a Freddy's Original double with cheese, fries, and a turtle sundae. Please.
Coming right up.
If you're gonna be bad, it better be good. Being bad never tasted this good.
Bring it on.
Freddy's, the experience that puts a smile on your face and the taste that brings you back.
So, what is love? Love is being independent. Love is dancing. At Shriners Hospital for Children, love is a new smile.
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, love is caring for a child regardless of the family's ability to pay. Learn how you can send your love to the rescue at lovetotherescue.org.
BJ Harris back along with you on the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. Along with me, Chet Copeland from Sports in Kansas. We are in downtown Pittsburgh at Sign Brothers, our official apparel provider of the Kansas Shrine Bowl. And so we continue here to introduce you to the 2021 West squad. And we head to the next 18 players that will represent the West. And on that list is from Goddard is Jake Schopp.
Yeah, a kid that had over 1,100 yards receiving this year. Kyler Simrad and him were a great connection as a quarterback-receiver combo. Great size at 6'1", 185 at wide receiver. We talked about the May South kid, a lot of similarities to the two in size, and, of course, a lot of good receivers out in the Wichita area. This guy definitely headlined it in Class 5A and maybe one of the top 5 receivers in all classes this year due to his production this year and a big-time year for the Lions of Goddard, who's had some very solid players and solid coaches in this game in recent memory.
Andale, one of the juggernauts right now in Class 3A, and I got a chance to talk with their coach, Coach Schmidt, quite a bit, I can definitely see why they are so consistent and so good. Also good players. He'd be the first one to tell you that, and here's one, 6'1", 235, and Caden Winter.
Yeah, there could have really been 3 or 4 different guys you could have went with on this team. They had 3 Player of the Year candidate type of guys. And, of course, Eli Rowland was an Offensive Player of the Year in 3A. Caden Winter was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year along with another teammate as well. He was a top 11 selection in Kansas. They were so well balanced this year and just a juggernaut they've been under Coach Schmidt. They're 48-2. As the head coach there, and one of the losses came to Miege in a title game, but Andale could compete with a lot of classes. This is a stud wrestler as well. Not the biggest guy whenever you look at offensive line as far as projection for Division I, Division II, but this guy just gets the job done as a D end or an offensive lineman. 6'1", 235 pounds. Nice to see Caden Winter get in the game.
8-man football is alive and well in Western Kansas for sure, extreme Western Kansas in this case, as we head to St. Francis. And, boy, you guys talked about him a ton during the selection process, and I see why. Shadron Blanca.
Yeah, legit 4.55 speed, 6'2", 205 pounds, over 2,000 yards rushing, and they had limited games this year. Back-to-back state runner-up, the Player of the Year in 8-man Division II this year for Sainty. They love their football out there in northwest Kansas, just up by the Nebraska and Colorado border. It is way out there north of Goodland, but definitely bring it each and every year. And I think you're going to see multiple 8-man picks where, only one, spot is for 8-man, but there were that many good players in 8-man football this year that when you do it overall, we don't care what class that you're from. It just matters if you're a good football player or not. This guy, multiple opportunities at the next level. I could see him really being a good fit at the MIAA, and St. Francis has certainly had some players that have went on to the next level and do good things.
Yeah, foreshadowing just happened that our 8-man selections are in the second half of this list, but if you think you might hear your name, don't go anywhere because there's a chance that we'll have a couple more 8-man picks for the West squad. Before that, though, we stay in 3A and head to Clearwater and Tanner Cash.
Losing season a few years ago, and they insert this guy at quarterback and just an absolute athlete. I know he's got a lot of the Division I programs looking at him as a walk-on, 6'2", and a half, 210, 215 pounds, quarterback athlete, defensive back, and did a little bit of everything. He was actually the Player of the Year offensively in his league, and that league has the state champion Andale in it. So obviously people think very highly of this young man. He could play quarterback, defensive back, linebacker in this game, even probably play a little bit of receiver or running back. But Tanner Cash is the ultimate just athlete spot guy that you can put out there anyway.
Tight end might be one of the toughest spots to get. If you're a tight end, it's probably hardest to get in the Shrine Bowl because, coaches, you don't carry a ton of tight ends on your roster. And luckily, the offenses have changed so dramatically that tight ends can be H-backs, they can be slots, and it's opened things up possibly a little bit more for that position. One guy that's going to come onto the West squad. Who knows what he'll end up playing, but selected as a tight end, 6'2", 220 out of 2A Minneapolis. It's Spencer Davidson.
Yeah, I had several media members reach out to me and say, hey, have you looked at this kid? This is not just somebody that's putting up big numbers because it's 2A. Like, this kid looks the part and he's good. Not only is he an all-state baseball player, but he's good. You need to look into him. He's a potential Shrine Bowl type of kid. Then whenever the media ballots came in across the state, we realized that a lot of people saw this kid here, and of course, great size. He can run, he can block, hybrid type, but more like a tight end. A lot that you can do with him. Nice to see Spencer Davidson get here as an under the radar type of player that put up a huge year for 2A Minneapolis.
Back to 3A, and Chapman with a player in the game this year to be Trevor Erickson.
Yeah, we talk about guys that play every spot. I mean, this guy can be kicker, punter, defensive back. He can play outside backer. He's a quarterback from high school. He actually is in a military family and lived in multiple states growing up, located right there by Junction City, Fort Riley. And obviously the other two schools had really good quarterbacks in Dane Aschenbrenner out of Manhattan and Andrew Corey, who we just talked about. So he winds up at Chapman. He's an all-state track and field athlete in Georgia as a sophomore. So not a lot of people know about him because we didn't have track last year. Quarantine missed some games this year as well, but absolutely one of the best football players in Class 3A on 2 ways. And I'm glad that people figured enough about him this year to get him on this roster because he definitely deserves it.
When I was in school years ago, there was, 8-man, one of those juggernaut schools you always heard a lot about was Little River, and they're back at it again here in the 2020s, and their representative, another 8-man pickup, will be Jaden Garrison.
Another athlete guy. I mean, he caught a touchdown, he passed for a touchdown, he ran for a touchdown in the state championship. One of the most dominating performances. And keep in mind, Cade Ritzky had a dominating performance against him in the championship as well. But this guy just had a little bit better performance in Little River's first state championship since, I believe, the late 1990s. Incredible performance on him. And he's not even really a football player. I think just his second year playing. And this guy is an 8-man one player of the year. Incredible run through the playoffs. And I've talked to some media members, and I've talked to Brent Maycock about this. We believe he might be one of the top 5 basketball players, if not top 10 for sure, in the entire state of Kansas. They were a Final Four team last year. And I believe like 5 or 6 days later, BJ, after playing in this game, he lit up like 31 points in basketball. He's that good of an athlete. He deserves a spot, whether it's D-back, wide receiver, whether it's quarterback, whatever it is. This is absolutely one of the best multiple sport athletes in Kansas, regardless of class.
You've already alluded to it, mentioned it multiple times. Those kids football's not their primary sport. They're just that good athletes, and it may be his primary sport, but very good basketball player as well. Another one, boy, this will be a good one for the West in Class 3A from Halstead, 6'2", 235, Doug Grider.
Coach's son here and just a solid player, over 150 tackles this year and always on that tackle leaderboard the last couple of years. Him and his brother have done some good things there at Halstead. His brother graduating last year, playing for, of course, Jason Grider there, and had a couple of ways you could have went with the Halstead pick and a really talented team this year, but just a really tough schedule overall. But this kid also a very talented offensive lineman. He lives in the weight room, very strong kid. So I could see him playing linebacker or offensive line in this game. Very good 3A high school football player.
Another big fella up front, and we'll go to the 6A ranks. And Manhattan, I believe Manhattan set the record a year ago for most players ever. I think they have the most players ever selected the Kansas Shrine Bowl, so a long tradition there. And Damian Elalio will be the representative there.
He is headed to Kansas State at the next level, one of the absolute best players in the state. He was my Sports in Kansas 6A Defensive Player of the Year this year. He is the 2-time Centennial League Defensive Player in back-to-back years, also an all-state wrestler. 6'2", may be a little bit generous to him, but maybe he is, but the kid can flat out play. One of the best in all classes. Mentioned 2-time all 6A all-state pick and very good. Kansas State identified him over the summer, and there's a reason he's going to play for the Kansas State Wildcats and be an immediate impact player in this game.
I bet you him saying 6'2" and me saying 6'2". I bet you he's closer than I am, Chet. So you never know. And we go to Holcomb, go out west again, and Oz Perez.
Very good player, good friends with Coach Teeter, and told me about this kid in that off season and had an outstanding year last year. Didn't get to meet him. I was out there speaking at the high school, but he was in quarantine, so missed a game at the end of the year, so didn't get to meet him, but a little bit under the radar player, about 6'1" 3/4", 6'2", 290. Can play on both sides of the football, and that's a very physical brand of football out there in Western Kansas. Holcomb has a couple of state titles since 2015. They lost, obviously, to Clearwater in the playoffs this year, but very good player. player, Oz Perez, making the selection here out of Class 3A for Holcomb.
Head back closer to the Wichita area, head to Wellington this time, and they will have a representative from the Class 4A ranks, 6'3", 270, big fella, Kenny Furman.
Yeah, this is a kid that when I first met him, he was at the Shrine Bowl Combine in Dodge City a couple years ago, and I thought he was older than me. He was bench pressing like over 400 pounds as a sophomore. Absolutely one of the strongest players in this game. He missed some time with injury, but a very good player, and is going to have an opportunity to play on either side of the football. And 6'3", 270 pounds. He's packed on some weight over the last couple of years, but very good football player. 4A All-State selection this year for Wellington High School.
Continue with a run up front with some of the big fellas that are going to help the West squad go to 6A, go back out west to Garden City, and Trey Newsom.
Yeah, he's a very good football player, has some D2 and I believe one FBS opportunity, or at least had one from Akron at one point. And it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Of course, Oz Perez there nearby, probably pretty similar type of player, just a little bit longer than that. Play either side of the football, and has had a great career out at Garden City. And of course, Garden City has had some success with players at the next level. DeMarcus Elliott played in this game a few years ago, and he starts for Indiana, who is a very good football team this year in the Big Ten, and then a 6A, finalist or 6A player of the year a few years ago from Sports in Kansas. So very good player for Garden City, 6'3", 290 pounds.
We'll stay up front, but we'll head back to the Wichita area, and Bishop Carroll, their representative this year, will be Ben Purvis.
I got a video of this kid playing baseball, and not often do you see 6'3", 285 going around the bases. I mean, it looked weird, but it looked like, wow, this kid's an athlete. Three-sport athlete there at Bishop Carroll. There's a reason he was identified by the Naval Academy, headed to the FBS level, a team that beat K-State in a bowl game last year. Offensive lineman, one of the absolute best offensive linemen in the state. And if you've seen some of these Bishop Carroll kids that have either went to the JUCO route or have had to walk on and do what they've done, they've had a lot of success. Noah Johnson was second team all Big 12 this year, and he was a guy that had to walk on to Kansas State. And Ben, a little bit bigger than him right now at 6'3", 285 pounds. So one of the best guys in the state of Kansas this year on the offensive line.
And we'll go to their rival, Bishop Carroll's rival, of course, is Cape Mount Carmel, and their representative this year in Class 5A is Ethan Stolsatz.
Yeah, you don't often see a 6'4", 6'5" defensive back and has that skill set as long, and somebody's going to find him a really good football player at the next level here, and they've certainly done that over the years. It's just maybe been a little bit inconsistency team success, but not the case this year. Coach Sharks came on as a first-year head coach and turned this program into a contender this year, and they were battling with Bishop Carroll and in some good games this year. Kind of an honorary member of the WAC this year because they didn't have the Wichita City League, but very good pickup here out of Capen, and they got some talent coming up as well, including a sophomore that's 6'6", 215 pounds with the K-State offer. So I don't see I don't see Capen going anywhere. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be around for the next couple of years.
4 players remaining here to fill out our 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl West squad, and we head to Rose Hill for a representative, another one of those big guys up front, in Noah Boltikoff.
Yeah, he's a kid that blew up, a couple of years ago, started training with Blaze Foltz, who played at TCU, and kid transfers over and plays for Rose Hill his final 2 years. And all of a sudden, Division I program started offering him because he just blows up in the weight room, and originally committed to Kansas State. Now he is signed to TCU at the next level, one of the strongest players in the state. And a lot of people have talked about this is an NFL body. If he can develop at the next level, we could see him at that. So 6'5", 285 pounds, and had a turnaround really this year under Coach Weber there at Rose Hill. So nice to see one of the absolute best linemen in the state getting picked up in this game, headed to TCU at the next level.
Another really good lineman, and coming off of the head coach of the West, Lucas Melvin's team out of Norton, it'll be Christian Hawks.
Yeah, he was hurt this year a little bit, so didn't get the full season in, and got to see him at camp and meet him at some camps this summer during the limited time. And if this was a normal year where he got to camp at a lot of places, he would probably have a handful of those FBS major offers. He had KU and he committed there originally, and then changed his commitment when Air Force came in. Air Force is really identifying under the radar type of talent. Ty Black of Shawnee Mission Northwest, one of those guys. LaJames White, one of those guys that's in this game. And then you see Hawks, 6'5", 260 pounds, getting to play for his coach one last time, and a very fine football player. He can be D-line in this game as well, but I see him probably at the offensive line at the next level.
Next guy, it'll be our third guy from the 8-man ranks, and I believe the first time I ever heard about him was from your page, Sports in Kansas, and we're going to have to talk to Stacy Butcher about uniform for this cat, but excited to have him on the team, Harlan Obioha out of Hoxie.
Yeah, he's the biggest football player that I've ever covered. I posted a video last year of him intercepting a pass. Just, I knew he was a basketball player, knew he was a pretty decent basketball player. He tells me he's 7 foot. So I know he's listed here 6'10", 6'11", whatever. Everybody listed him different. I still like to call him 7 foot just because I'm like, hey, a 7 foot football player. Where do we ever see that? Maybe Willie Cauley-Stein at Olathe Northwest a few years ago, but not 315 pounds on top of that, and plays at the 8-man level. And boy, does he stand out. And 21 points per game in basketball. We posted that video last year, not really knowing anything about it. Next thing you know, like 5 Division I offers come in. So I believe he's got 13 FBS offers, and I believe close to about a handful of offers in basketball as well. Division I and both from tiny Hoxie, Kansas. So 3 8-man players. We weren't going to just pick one because we had to pick one. Last year, the same thing, and maybe we were criticized for doing that. Well, ends up the 8-man player was the starting quarterback on the east side. So glad we did take multiple players. So absolutely players at all levels, and Harlan one of those.
And we wrap up our selections here for the East, and coincidentally end up in the game, the community in which we will play the game this year on June 26th. That's Hutchinson. The Salt Hawks are going to have a player in this one. It'll be Jack Hopper.
Yeah, it was hard to pick between a couple of players from this school, and brought on as a 5A pick here, a 5A Defensive Player of the Year finalist there, over 100 tackles this year, 6'2", 202. Mike Vernon really had a turnaround season this year for Hutchinson. Kind of maybe we're going in the wrong direction for a few years, and now all of a sudden the right direction. And it seems like Hutchinson could be back, and Hoover a big part of that. Alec McQuan offensively a big part of that as well. So nice to see the Salt Hawks get a pickup here out of Class 5A.
Is going to join us as an assistant as well. He'll be the 5A representative on the West. We'll meet those West coaches in just a moment. We'll also hear from the head coach of the West squad, Lucas Melvin. All that and more still to come. Once again, congratulations to all 36 players who will represent the West in the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl. And again, as I mentioned during the East selections, if you didn't hear your name today, I know it's unfortunate. No, it's not what you wanted to hear, but stay ready because there's always opportunities to take a replacement spot, and there is no coming from a replacement player. There is obviously still a lot of honor, and you're still a Kansas Shrine Bowl player if you lace them up on that Saturday, and so that's all that really matters. But congratulations to those 36 players, a very good roster for both the East and the West. We're going to come back. We'll talk to the head coach of the West, Lucas Melvin, when we return on the 2021 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show.
Sign Brothers, a proud Shrine Bowl partner, is more than your average sign company. We go statewide, specializing in all types of messages for sports and schools. Wall graphics for locker rooms, gyms, or school entry areas. Sign Brothers will design and install graphics that get your students and players excited about this school year. We also make banners, field and gym signs, plus all types of custom COVID messages for directions and social distancing. So reach out today for custom designed signs and learn about our special pricing for your school or business.
My daughter was diagnosed with scoliosis.
Connor's right leg was shorter than the left.
Her issues were so rare.
I wanted a doctor who's experienced at treating my child's exact condition.
That's why we went to Shriners Hospitals for Children.
These doctors develop the most advanced procedures.
They do so much research.
With some of the most innovative doctors in the world.
And they put all their best thinking, all their love into healing my child.
And they did it, regardless of our ability to pay.
My daughter is who she is today because of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
Welcome back to the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. BJ Harris along with you as we continue right on. You just have met now all 72 players. We just wrapped up introducing you to the 36 kids who will be representing the West. Now let's meet the head coach of the West squad from Norton High School, Lucas Melvin. And Coach, bring you in here. You got those 36 dudes as you kind of went through this process. Mm-hmm. Just talk about those guys and what the West has in store for this year.
Well, getting these, there's so many great players out here in the West and on the East as well. But I just feel like we got some tremendous talent on both sides of the ball and really at every position. And I'm really excited about, I don't think they're just talented athletes. I think they're great young men too. So I'm just excited to get to work with them and the coaches and, enjoy the week, but also get ready to win a game.
Well, the 2020 Kansas Shrine Bowl in Topeka, there was so much uncertainty. We didn't know if we were going to get a high school football season, and we had that. You were an assistant coach in that. You got to coach your son and another player from Norton in that magical run to a state runner-up finish last year in Class 2A. How special of an experience was that for you, coaching your son, another player, and then really kind of the driving force to an extent to getting a high school football season and seeing the success of the Shrine Bowl this summer?
That's exactly what I would say. I think the Shrine Bowl was the one thing that went this summer that kind of made people believe, hey, we can play football this fall. And I think if the Shrine Bowl wouldn't have pressed on like they did, I don't know if we would have got to play, to tell you the truth. So I was very impressed with, BJ and the leadership of the Kansas Shrine Bowl to continue to find any way. And I know they worked their heinies off to make it happen. And because it did happen was, I think it was instrumental in helping us to have a season. And then just the opportunity to get to be in the Shrine Bowl last year and to be a part of it. And I know it was modified, but it felt magical to me. I mean, I feel blessed to have got, to get to coach, period, but to get to coach my son and then get to coach in the Shrine Bowl with him and Judson and all the tremendous players from both sides. I mean, still keep in contact with those guys and those coaches. It was just a great experience. And, I just continue to hope that things get better as far as the health and it can be more back to normal this year.
Well, you talked about the differences last year, but one thing that remains the same and an opportunity for me because of the changes was to be around coaches and be around you guys more than I normally would in a Shrine Bowl year. I got to watch that West coaching staff kind of come together in 1 week. That's really tough to do. Obviously, it's something you're going to be having to do this year as well as the head coach. What do you know of your staff and how important is it, do you think, to have that staff to come together?
I thought probably the way we came together last year, not just as a coaching staff, but as players, I think that was instrumental to us getting the win last year because, East was very talented and they played very hard also. And I just think our guys came together in such a special way that we weren't going to lose the game because they cared that much about each other to get it done. And I think, I'm surrounded by tremendous coaches this year. I look up to all of them. Coach Zimmerman is a guy I've known for a long time, and he's done a tremendous job at Junction City. Really looking forward to working with all of them. Coach Weimer's had a great season down at ARC, and just all of them have done a tremendous job over the years, and to get to be with them. And, I've coached against some of them, obviously. Coach Hennick from Oakley is in our league, so coach against him, and just to be able to get to do those things with the guys that you compete against and now be on the same team, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, Coach, you play in one of the best 2A, 1A leagues in Kansas, and they churn out talent, whether that's MIAA, whether that's Division I. You've had 2 Division I players, I believe, in 5 years. Of course, one that we talked about a bit earlier, and there's talent all across the MCL. There's talent all across really Western Kansas. I know you have Wichita kids on there, not really Western Kansas, but they are on the West. But just how talented are some of the teams out in Western Kansas, and how underrated in some years is some of the talent that, maybe sleepers out there in recruiting?
I think there is. And, it's not really the kids' fault for sure. And can't really blame anybody for it. It's just we're out here, we're rural. And a lot of people making it out to our games, whether they're from Topeka or Wichita or wherever. But these kids can play. And the one thing about Western Kansas kids is they're tough and they're physical and they're not going to quit. And that's what I think you see a lot of. And some of these kids are getting opportunities now to go to that, that higher level and the D1s and the D2s. And I think you're seeing them make names for themselves. And I think that's helping our kids out here to get noticed some.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. We'll let you the same honors that Coach did a moment ago. Coach King is a chance to talk to these kids. These 36 players have just been announced. They know they're now playing for the West this year in Hutchinson. What are some words of wisdom you'd like to leave them with and some marching orders?
Yeah, just get ready. Keep training. most of these kids are going on to do something else anyway. So train for that and then get ready. West Side, that's the way we do it. We're going to roll together and have fun getting after it.
All right, Coach. We appreciate your time and good luck this summer.
Thanks. Take care.
Head coach of the West squad, Lucas Melvin, joining us here on the 2020 Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show. We'll take our final break. We'll come back and wrap things up when we return right here.
Welcome to Freddy's. How are you guys doing?
Meetings.
Lunch meetings all week, all salads.
Bean salads.
Quinoa salads.
Heirloom salads.
Frisee salads.
Sometimes a guy needs a Freddy's Original Double, Chicago Dog, and a Turtle Sundae.
Make that 2, please.
3.
Absolutely.
If you're gonna be bad, it better be good. Being bad never tasted this good. Freddy's, the experience that puts a smile on your face and the taste that brings you back.
Sports are full of empowering moments. The game-winning field goal, an athlete overcoming an injury. At Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, we live for those empowering moments. Our team is well equipped to care for all sports-related injuries. Our experts tailor-make treatment plans to fit you. Because when it comes to winning, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Discover the many ways Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics and Sports Medicine can empower your victories.
How do you see the world?
At Shriners Hospitals for Children, we know that changing how you see things can turn them into
Everyday miracles.
Like riding my bike.
Breaking boards. Hugging my mom.
Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Welcome back one final time here on the Kansas Shrine Bowl Selection Show here for the 2021 year. Before we wrap, we talked about them. We talked about them with both coaching staffs, but we do want to introduce you to the coaching staffs for the 2021 game for the East and for the West. And Chet Boy, we talked to some state champions in here. There's some runner-ups, a bunch of them in this era as well. Some guys who have a ton of experience in the Kansas Shrine Bowl, some with no experience. It's a nice mix this year. And Coach King and Coach Melvin both have really good guys to help them.
Yeah, it's a great honor to obviously get the nod to get in the game as an assistant coach, and then you get a couple of player selections per your classification to bring on as well. And some of these guys getting to coach, with obviously guys that they know, prior or go against maybe in another classification, and maybe a 1A coach gets to meet a 6A coach out of this as well. So the relationships and the ideas that you bounce off of each other for years to come. And a lot of these guys have been around for a long time. You mentioned Coach Zimmerman and all the success that he's had. But, you see guys like, Coach Baird getting in for a first time of Hoisington, first ever time getting up to a state title game this year. And then Brooks Barta, a veteran that, obviously just built the Holton program into a powerhouse. Chris Schmidt, consistently at Olpe, always has them in the mix in Class 1A. And of course, Coach Hennick, unbelievable year there. In Class 1A for Oakley. Who would have thought Oakley playing for a state title game this year when they were 3-6 prior and struggled to really even beat anybody in their own league? And then, of course, we already talked about Coach Weimers in Ark City and that outstanding season there. It's been awesome to see, really the storylines this year was getting a season first and foremost, but some teams coming really out of nowhere to territories that we didn't think that they would be at. And of course, a couple of them getting, the nod in this game because of their outstanding seasons. And I don't know the specific rules of how all that works or how many times you can coach in the game or how many years you got to wait in between being a head coach. I do know that the 2 head coaches, were assistants last year. So all these assistants, which BJ will run through those, they'll have the opportunity after this year to be a head coach in the 2022 game.
Yeah, some of them have. It's based on initially on how you finish your year, as when you kind of get into the mix as far as an assistant coach, and then it's based on your availability. Can you do it? After that, there are some rules every 3 years for 6A and 5A coaches. they're eligible, and every 5 years, the classifications below that are eligible. And so, yeah, we've got some guys on here. Coach Rampy's one that for years had opportunities at Blue Valley to be on staff from the 6A side of things. Wasn't able to do it, had kids growing up and all that good stuff. I'm so happy he gets a chance to coach in the game, and I think he's going to be a nice asset for Coach King. Anthony Orick is going to be the 5A representative, Blue Valley Southwest on the East. He played in this game back in the 90s as well for Blue Valley and played for Coach Rampy when he was at Blue Valley. That's a nice little storyline there. Rod Stahlbaumer has been a head coach in the Kansas Shrine Bowl. He's been an assistant as well out of Basehor-Linwood. And then Coach Barta, you mentioned, he was my head coach when I played in 2000. Thanks to him, because without Coach Barta, this is a good example how it works. We got drubbed by Holton in the semifinals in that game, but I had a pretty good game, thankfully. And when the time came to find a replacement, hopefully he remembered. Luckily, he remembered that I had played okay and picked us up and picked me up late in the season and late in the summer, and got a chance to play. And I'm forever grateful of him for that opportunity. And then Andrew Gantemine from Osage City, the representative there in 2A, and then Coach Schmidt, you mentioned, in 1A. On the west side of things, just quickly, we'll run through the coaches again. Head coach Lucas Melvin, the assistant coach, you mentioned, Coach Zimmerman, a record 8th time, and Coach can do it as long as he wants to do it. He is a tremendous asset for us. Mike Vernon, we talked about from Hutchinson. John Weimers played in this game. His dad coached in this game. His brother played in this game. Troy Black going to get a chance to coach, this time for the West squad. Last time he was on the East for Fredonia back some time ago. Zach Baird, you mentioned, and Jeff Hennick from Oakley round out the coaching staffs for those respective teams. Very excited to work for all those guys. Excited to work with you kids, you players, you men, I guess I should say, and get a chance to work with your families, get to know you better over the next couple of months. So we're going to get the chance to do it. You will now have a charge and a responsibility that comes with being selected to play in the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and that's to go out, help us raise money, help us continue to make the biggest impact possible for Shriners Hospitals for Children. Be ready to play, be ready to put a good product on the field, and get ready to go. Chet, you continually amaze me with your knowledge of high school sports in the state of Kansas. It is something to behold. For those of you at home, there are no pieces of paper. There are no notes nearby. That young man, he is just going off that from the top of his head. It is remarkable every time I see it done. Your contribution to high school kids and contribution to sports in Kansas, it's your name, but it is what you do and who you are. And you're a great asset to the Kansas Shrine Bowl, and happy to work with you once again.
Well, thank you so much, BJ, for having me, and congrats to everybody selected to the game today. And like you said, be ready if you're not selected. There were a lot of replacements last year. There's going to be some obligations with kids going on to colleges that maybe it's Division I, they won't allow them to play, or maybe they start earlier, or maybe it's an injury or something like that. So be ready to play. And also, if you're selected today, take this serious and play in the game. I encourage you to play in this game. It's for a great cause. It was awesome to see everybody coming together every single year to raise money for the Shriners Hospitals for Children and what it does. And you're going to remember this for the rest of your life, the relationships. You won't maybe remember a lot about maybe the practices or what happened in the game, but you're going to remember that kid that maybe is from a 1A school and you're from a 6A school or 8-man or whatever it is with that relationship for the rest of your life. And hopefully we're going to have some creative ways to raise some money. And if you want to be a part of it as a sponsor, maybe we'll do a helmet raffle, something like that later on in the year as well. There's so many great opportunities to give back to the Kansas Shrine Bowl. I know BJ's got a lot of stuff planned as well for everything with alumni and things like that. Hopefully we're going to have a high school football combine as well. That's still kind of unknown at this point, but there's a lot of ways here to help the Shriners Hospital for Children. So congratulations to everybody selected today. Obviously, shout out to Sign Brothers, our location in downtown Pittsburgh today, as well as Mammoth Sports Construction for powering everything that I do, as well as being a partner of the Kansas Shrine Bowl. It's been great to work with you, BJ. And like I said, I think you saved, and I've heard that's not just me saying that because I'm on set with you today. So many people have told me in the media that we really feel like you and the Kansas Shrine Bowl saved that 2020 football season because it brought reality to it that, hey, we can do this. And I know there were some problems overall when we look at it, but BJ, we got to have a football season. We get to get on here today and talk about selecting kids because they had a football season. So shout out to you on your staff, and I can't wait to get to Hutchinson in 2021.
Well, I appreciate that. Jana Becker back in the office who runs the things there for us. And obviously the Kansas Shrine Bowl Board of Directors, 15 men throughout the entire state of Kansas. Those guys had the faith to keep things moving forward this year. And so I appreciate the accolades, but it goes back to those folks and their faith in me to continue to push things forward. And then all the people who showed up, the kids who showed up, the players who showed up and made a good effort of it and did everything they were asked to do. It was tremendously exciting opportunity this last year, and I'm looking forward to hopefully even more in 2021. I hope you are too. Make sure you join us coming up on June 26th, 2021, as we head to Gallon Stadium in Hutchinson, Kansas, for Mike and Mike, who are back behind the scenes, MSI Digital, putting all this thing together. We appreciate your guys' efforts as well. And that's going to do it for us here this time. Players will be in touch. You'll have information coming your way here pretty soon as what your expectations are. For Chet Copeland, I'm BJ Harris saying so long, and we'll see you in Hutchinson on June 26th, 2021 for the 48th Kansas Shrine Bowl.